Very good morning, students. We are moving to the next topic, that pastoralism in Africa. Let us move to Africa, where over half of the world's pastoral population lives. We can see if there is 100 people, tribal peoples are in there. In that 50 people they are living in Africa. Even today, over 22 million Africans depends on some form of the pastoral activity for their livelihood. They include communities like Bedouins, Berbers, Maasai, Somali, Boran, and Turkana. Most of them now live in the semi-arid grasslands or arid desert where rain-fed agriculture is difficult. They are living these tribal people. They are living in the desert area or semi-desert area. And they raised cattle, camel, goat, sheep, and donkeys, and they sell milk, meat, animal skin, and wool. Some also earn through trade and transport. Other combine pastoral activity with agriculture. Still others do variety of odd jobs to supplement their meager and uncertain earnings from the pastoralism. So some of them directly depend on pastoralism. They are selling their meat or milk and skin of the animal like that, and some of them they are helping for trade and transport, especially camel and donkeys. Then other people they are combine pastoral work as well as the agriculture. Here in India also we have seen the same way. Like pastoralists in India, the lives of African pastoralists have changed dramatically over the colonial and post-colonial period. So in India also we have seen that when they are changing the tribals or pastoralists, they are changing their life according to the new laws made by the colonial people or the European people. Then we can see here it is given one map, shows that the which tribal community we are going to explain in the lesson are discussing. They are here with in African, which part it is like that showed. Okay, we can see that one. Okay, we are moving to next part. We will discuss some of these changes by looking at one pastoral community, that the Maasai, in some details. We are going to see one of the pastoral group, that is Maasai group, and that Maasai, how they are changing their life or how they change their pastoral community, that we are going to see. The Maasai cattle herders lives primarily in the East Africa. 3 lakh in South Kenya, and others 1 lakh 50,000 in the Tanzania. We can see that one here inside it is given where these two group they are living, and in that 3 lakhs they are living in Kenya area, and 1 lakh 50,000 they are living in Tanzania area. We will see how the new laws and the regulations took their life in their land and restricted their movement. This affected their lives in time of drought and even reshaped their social relationship. How it is changing, that we are going to see in detailed way. First one, where have the grazing land gone? One of the problem of Maasai have faced is the continuous loss of their grazing land. Before colonial time, Maasai land stretched over a vast area from north Kenya to the steppes of the northern Tanzania. In the late 19th century, European imperial powers scrambled for a territorial possession in Africa, slicing up the region into different colonies. So the European people, when they reached to Africa, each and every group they made small pieces in the name of them, and not like India all to made maximum it made by the taken by British people, other small parts by Dutch and French, not like that. They made into small groups. Small area means they partitioned the total African continent under the heading of each and every country. For Dutch some part and England some part, French some part, like that they made it sliced that one. In 1885, Maasai land was cut into half with the international boundary between British Kenya and German Tanganyika. So that present Tanzania. So the where the people was living, Maasai land they was living, that is made into two part under the British and German power. Subsequently, the best grazing land was gradually taken over for white settlement, and Maasai were pushed into small areas in the South Kenya and northern Tanzania. So the a very good fertile land taken by the white people, or they made their own settlement there, and they made the Tanzanian this Maasai people to the south part of Kenya and the northern part of Tanzania. The Maasai lost about 60% of their pre-colonial land. They were confined to an arid zone with uncertain rainfall and poor pasture. So to where they moved to the arid land or the desert area where they are getting very less rainfall as well as very less pastures. From the late 19th century, the British colonial government in the East Africa also encouraged local peasant communities to expand cultivation. So here in India also they said the same way. This British people they said to expand their cultivation, or instead of moving from one place to another place, settle somewhere and start your cultivation like that. In cultivation, as cultivation expanded, the pastoral lands were turned into cultivated field. In pre-colonial time, the Maasai pastoralites had dominated their agriculture neighbors both economically and politically. By the end of the colonial rule, the situation has reversed. So in the time of before the colonial rule, there was the rulers who Maasai group was the rulers, or the very powerful people near when we are comparing with the neighboring groups, because they are having the very good pastoral land, and they are having the in number also there was more, and the situation changed in the time of British rule, because they restricted everything movement, and they compelled them to do agriculture. So they lost their domination economically as well as politically. Large areas of grazing land were also turned into game reserves like the Masai Mara and Samburu National Park in Kenya and Serengeti Park in Tanzania. So the grazing land that also taken by the government for other some purpose, one for national park purpose. So that area also made at a reserved one, and they lost their land again. Then pastoralists were not allowed to enter these reserves. They could neither hunt animals nor graze their herds in these areas. How they done here in India, same way that they done in Africa also. They restricted, or they made it that area as a reserved area. Only government want to take the permission, or only government can entertain that area like that. Very often these reserves were in areas that had traditionally been regular grazing grounds for Maasai herds. The Serengeti National Park, for instance, was created over 14,760 kilometers of the Maasai grazing land. From that, we can understand how much their land done by the British government. Then you can see source E and source F. Then we are moving to down. The loss of the finest grazing land and the water resources created pressure on the small area of the land that Maasai was confined within. So they got very less area, and there very less water availability. So they was getting the pressure, or they was suffering a lot. Continuous grazing within a small area inevitably meant a deterioration of the quality of pasture. Fodder was always in short supply. Feeding of the cattle became a persistent problem. So by that, what they will do, knowingly or unknowingly, they will change their life as a farmer. That was the intention. The borders are closed. In 19th century, African pastoralists could move over vast areas in search of pastures. When the pastures were exhausted in one place, they moved to different areas to graze their cattle. From late 19th century, the colonial government began imposing various restrictions on the mobility. We have seen that already. Like the Maasai, other pastoral groups were also forced to live within the confines of areas special reserved. The boundaries of this reserve become a limit within which they could now move. So the reserved forest that become the boundary for the tribals to move from one area to other area. They were not allowed to move out with their stock without special permits, and it was difficult to get permit without trouble and harassment. Those found guilty of disobeying the rules were severely punished. So same condition here India also, they suffered. They can't go inside the forest. If they are going, they used to get severe punishment. Then pastoralists were also not allowed to enter the market in white areas. So another problem of Africa, the white people they are using as a market. In that area, these pastoralist communities, they can't use. In many regions, they were prohibited from participating in any form of trade. Even they can't sell their things or they can't buy anything for themselves. That the white settlers or the European colonies, they was using their market area there. These pastoral people, they can't enter. White settlers and the European colonies saw pastoralists as dangerous and savage people with whom all contact had to be minimized. Why they done like that? They thought like that they are very dangerous and savage. They are not cultured like that. Cutting off all links was, however, never really possible, because white colonists had to depend on black labor to bore mines and build roads and towns. So it was not at all possible to avoid the link with these black people, because they was depending on black people to get the physical labor from them. A new territorial boundary and the restrictions imposed on them suddenly changed the lives of the pastoralists. This adversely affected both their pastoral and trading activities. Earlier, pastoralists not only look after animal herds but traded in various products. The restrictions under the colonial rule did not entirely stop their trading activities, but they were now subject to various restrictions. Even they was doing the trade, that also they got the restriction. Then okay, we'll continue in next video.